Hello friends, 𝗪𝗵𝘁 here. It's the 4th of July week. We're halfway through the year. The US is celebrating a young 250 years. All that we know is that the next 250 years will not look the same. But in the past few weeks, the AI story changed. For 3 years, the story was acceleration. ChatGPT launched, OpenAI exploded, Anthropic rose, Google came back hard, NVIDIA became the center of the market. Hyperscalers started spending at a scale the world has not seen before. AI was the gas pedal. Now the story is control. The US government has not paused AI, but it has put a speed bump in front of the frontier. OpenAI has delayed the release of its most advanced models at the US government's request. Anthropic's most advanced models were fully restricted, then came back this week under tighter guardrails. That is an earthquake, because if you're a company, a country, a board, an individual building around these models, the question is no longer which model is best. The question is, what happens if I can't access the model tomorrow? That's a question that every company should be asking. I know it's a huge topic of discussion in the global INSEAD AI private groups. And then came the stranger twist. OpenAI has reportedly proposed giving the US government 5% share in the company and suggested other labs do the same. Not regulation, not procurement, not defense contracts. Equity, the state moving from referee to shareholder. And how does that affect the choices of the other 95% of the world's population? If you're outside of the US, do you want your critical AI infrastructure reliant on a company where a government has a stake in the upside, may shape access, and influence release? In one version, this is a public AI dividend. If AI creates significant value, maybe citizens should participate in the upside. In another version, this is political insurance. If government can slow your model release or impact your IPO, giving a stake looks less like generosity and more like a seatbelt. Either way, the question is now unavoidable. AI is starting to look less like software and more like oil, chips, or nuclear energy. And this is not only an American story. China is also treating AI like strategic infrastructure. Reports say China has restricted access to top AI people at companies like DeepSeek and Alibaba. Chinese courts have ruled that companies can't release people just because AI could do their jobs. Different systems, same signal. AI is no longer just software, it's power. And Chinese AI is getting closer and closer to the AI frontier. Models like DeepSeek, 𝗕cie, and GLM are getting more performant while also being cheaper to deploy. So if the US can restrict models for security reasons, what happens when Chinese models are equally performant? Will Europe restrict them? Will the US restrict them? Will companies restrict them internally? Will boards let employees use them with sensitive materials? And who decides? As INSEAD professor 𝗕cie said recently at Station F in Paris, which AI do you want your kids to learn history from? That is not a small question, because AI is not only writing code, it's answering questions, shaping memories, explaining politics, summarizing history, and telling children, employees, voters, boards, what happened and what matters. Meanwhile, the whole AI economy is starting to look very circular. The model labs need compute, hyperscalers need customers, NVIDIA sells the chips, data centers need power, public markets need the AI story to keep working, and companies need the tools to keep functioning. Everyone depends on everyone else. So here's what I would tell a board this week. Do not ask only, are we using AI? Ask, what are we dependent on? Which models are mission critical? Which vendors could cut us off? Where do we need a second model? Where do we need an open weight or sovereign alternative? Where's the kill switch? And who owns the decision if access changes overnight? Because the risk is no longer just that AI gives you the wrong answer. The risk is that the AI you built around is no longer available. That's the question for the second half of the year. Not just how fast can we go, but what's your plan B if the road closes?